Good morning, and welcome to the first official episode of The Life of Riley. One of the questions I get asked all the time is what it's like to be a teacher in New York in 2025. And one of the best explanations I can give it is, you got to kind of follow prison rules. And I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I'm not saying it's like being in a prison. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I've watched enough specials on prison to realize that if you follow the rules of a prison, your time as an educator will be a lot easier. And these rules apply to your students, your parents, your peers, and your administrators. And once I give you this list, you will realize that if everyone followed these rules, your day would go a lot easier. And you will see what I mean as far as picking beefs and getting into misunderstandings and moving on and so forth and so on. Okay, so the first thing, mind your business. That's it. If it doesn't concern you, do not get into it. Right. So depending on where you are in prison, you could be separated by gangs, by race, by blocks, by territories. It doesn't matter. But what you learn quickly is you never complain about one to the next. Okay. So if you're locked up by race, you're not going to discuss what's going on with the whites with the blacks because one has nothing to do with the other. Okay. Same thing in teaching. Okay, now we're not broken up by race, really. I mean, unless you want to really get into that conversation, we're broken up more by content, okay, or departments, professional learning communities, however you want to call that. So, I happen to be, certified in special education, and I teach in a few different departments. I happen to teach in the math department, the history department, and the special education department. I mean, in the ELA department. So, I go to a few different of the PLCs a month, and you will never hear me talk about math politics in ELA or special ed or history or any of the other. I know what you're thinking. That's an oversimplification, but it's not. It's not. Because if you're complaining about something that's going on in one and not the other, the person you're complaining about is not there. If you have an issue in the special ed department, bring it up in the special ed meeting. If you have a problem in the history meeting, bring it up in the history meeting. There's no need to drag dirty laundry from one department to the next if the person you're talking about or the situation you're talking about is not being represented. It does no good. You're getting nothing out of it. Okay, all you're doing is trying to influence people and get them on your side, and that's doing nothing except influence people in order to turn them against each other. You're trying to divide and conquer. You're trying to earn sympathy. Nobody cares about that. Okay, there's no need for that. If you have an issue with somebody, you bring it to them. Okay, now another thing, kind of piggybacking on this. All right, and again, it's going to sound funny, but let me explain. Don't snitch, and I don't mean don't snitch as far as weeding out bad teachers. I hate bad teachers. I hate teachers that pass the buck. I hate teachers that abuse kids, that ignore parents, that don't do what they're supposed to do, that don't follow our contract, that don't do anything like that. Okay? Those are the teachers I can't stand because they give the rest of us a bad name. Okay? And I know this happens in every profession. Every profession's got their bad apples. The only problem is those bad apples is when they talk about us, and depending who's talking about us, we'll use those as examples. Those are the worst kind of teachers that are out there because it makes all of us look bad. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have an issue with somebody, instead of going around and talking rumors and trying to get people to be empathetic to you and whatever, go to that person. Try to settle that. Okay, and if you can't settle that, you got one of two choices. Is this a hill you want me to die on? Do I want to die on? Or do I want to let this go? Something else you learn in prison. Am I willing to give my life for this beef? Or am I going to be a man about this, not let it bother me because there's nothing I can do about it? Am I going to let it go? Those are your two choices. Okay? People at my job always laugh when I say that. But again, I'm not bringing anything to administration if it's not a hill that I'm willing to die on. Now, the back part, the backside to that is if you bring something to administration, okay, it better be a hill you're willing to die on, or don't bring it to me. I'm not getting caught up in rumors, in beefs, in he said, she said, in dumb stuff like that, okay? Because that's what causes rifts, and that's what causes ongoing beef, all right? If you want to solve something, that's different. But to he said, she said, no, I'm not interested in that, and neither should you, okay? So again, if you're bringing it, trying to get an outcome, and you think that that's what's going to work, yeah, bring it to somebody. That's your hill. Die on it, whatever. But it's not. People ask me all the time, yo, you love conflict. I don't love conflict. I don't love conflict at all. As a matter of fact, I don't love conflict to the point where if you bring me dumb stuff, I'm going that much harder. So next time, you don't bring me dumb stuff. Now, you bring me something that's important, yeah, we could deal with that. But I don't want you bringing me conflict just to bring me conflict. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to go at you that much more to remind you, next time, do I really want to bring this? Okay? And again, I know it sounds funny. These are prison rules. They really are. Yo, do I really want this minor thing? Or is it that major that this is a hill I'm willing to die on? Remember that. Okay? Next, stick to your word. With the kids, with the parents, with your administration, with your peers, stick to your word. Okay, if you tell a kid, you passed this test, I'm throwing you a pizza party on Friday, you better throw that kid a pizza party on Friday. That's it. The kid gets a pizza party. Because what happens is, you don't get a pizza party on Friday, good luck making a deal with that kid next time. All right? It's not so much of a deal as much as it's a reward. Okay? So if that's what you want to set up, you got to make sure that you're doing it the right way. Okay? Same thing with peers. Okay? Which is going to come up again, later on in this list. But, you make, we're having a going away party for so and so. All right, everybody's got to bring in $10. All right, you got me. I'm going to bring in my $10 on Friday. You better bring in your $10 on Friday. Okay? You don't bring in your $10 on Friday, you better never ask me to do anything again. Because if you can't even bring $10 to cover your cost of a going away party, don't ask me for anything. Okay? Be your word. Okay? But that also goes if you're an administrator. Now, I've never been an administrator, but I know what my word means. So if you're giving your word as administrator, this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen, don't ask for my opinion again. Don't ask for it. All right? Because it means nothing. If you're telling me that we're in a meeting and this is what's going to happen to the kid, and you don't, and you give me your word that this is what's going to happen, and then for whatever reason at the last moment you don't, I'm not taking your word ever again. Your word means nothing to me, because that's what your word means. This is what you said you were going to do, and you didn't do it. Forget it. I can't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't respect you. Okay, because I'm the type of person, if I give you my word, I'm doing it. All right? That kid will have a pizza party on Friday. I will bring you your $10. Okay, this is what's going to happen, in this situation. Okay, and if you're not a stand-up person, don't say you're a stand-up person. I'm going to try to do this. All right, well, that doesn't mean you're definitely going to do it. Okay, but don't say you're going to do something and then not do it. And that goes again with your students. That goes with your parents. Okay, that goes with your peers, and that goes for administration. Okay, if you give somebody your word, you better stick to your word. No matter how minor or major you think it is, it's your word. Once your reputation gets tarnished, good luck getting it back, because I'm not doing that. Okay, once your reputation gets tarnished, all you got to do is lose your word once with me, because that's all it takes. You lie once, you're a liar. That's it. You cheat once, you're a cheater. Like that's all that has to happen. Okay, for whatever reason it is, that's the path you chose, and you don't stick to your word. Don't ever say, "Oh, you have my word." That means nothing to me. That means nothing to me. Okay. Second, this is a little bit of a kindergarten situation. Don't touch what doesn't belong to you. Don't do it. Okay, if there's something in my room that you want, ask. Maybe I can give it to you, maybe I can't. But don't just assume, okay? And I don't care if it's stuff that I didn't pay for. I don't care if it's textbooks. Okay, I don't care if it's supplies that aren't mine. Okay, they're mine. They're in my room. Okay, that makes them mine. I might need them. You come in and you take textbooks that I might need the following period, and I don't even know where they are. So my kids don't get to use them because you don't have the professional courtesy to ask before you take something. You never learned that in kindergarten? No. If you see something and you want it, ask. If there's nobody there, you can't have it. Okay, and again, these are little things, because I know some of you are laughing right now. These are little kids that sustaining beef that I've seen peers have over years. Okay, because again, how can I trust you? You came into my domain taking stuff that didn't belong to you. Just ask. Just wait. If you needed it right then and there, you didn't know yesterday you needed it. You didn't know an hour ago you needed it. Like you have no forward thinking. You just realize, oh, I need this in 30 seconds. Let me run in and grab this stuff. No. If it does not belong to you, do not take it. And again, that can mean textbooks. Now, I don't pay for my textbooks, but they're in my room. They're mine. They're in there for a reason. I got them from somebody that I asked for a reason. Don't come in and take a desk or a chair. I don't care you're doing whole duty. You need to ask because I might need that. I have small classes. I only have a certain amount of chairs and desks. All my kids need those. There are no extras. You come in and you take that out. Why? Okay, you're doing an after-school activity, and you take that, put it back so I don't know. But my stuff better not be missing. Okay? This is what creates tensions among peers. And I know what you're saying. You're laughing. I get it. But again, this is the stuff that creates animosity. Okay? It's these little things that fester. This is how people start getting into disrespect. And this is how, I don't like this one. Why? Well, I borrowed a chair and he called me to the carpet. Well, why are you mad at him? I don't understand. And this is how all this stuff starts. Just ask. Just ask. And again, why? Because you're afraid they're going to say no? It's their stuff. That's their prerogative. If they say no, it might be for a reason. They might not need it. They might not like you. They might want to give it to you. It doesn't matter. It's their stuff. They can do that. Okay? So again, do not take anything without asking. Okay? Piggybacking on that. Knock before you enter my room. I don't care if the door's open. I don't care if the door's unlocked. I don't care if it's open. Knock before you enter. Okay? I don't care that my kids are being quiet. Okay? Maybe they all learn nap time. I know what you're saying. That's weird. They have nap time in high school. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay? That's my domain. If maybe they're taking a test. That's why they're so quiet. And now you come in all loud without knocking, and they have no... Just knock. Just knock before you come in. Okay? I know what you're saying. Oh, that's not your room. Yeah, it is my room. Because when something happens in that room, it's my room. Okay? I have to control that area. That is my room. Granted, I rent it, however you want to say it, because that might not be my room next year, but I still have to control that area. Okay? So if I'm held accountable for what happens in that area, you're going to knock before you enter the room I control, because that's part of controlling it. Okay? So don't just walk in. And again, I don't care if you're a peer, if you're a kid, if you're a parent, okay, if you're a pope, if you're Obama, I don't care. Okay, if you're an administrator, the superintendent, you're still going to knock before you enter my room, and I will address it. Okay, that is my stuff, and again, it's all about respect. Am I allowed to walk into your office without knocking? No. So what makes you think you can walk into my classroom without knocking? Okay, just think of it like that. If you don't want me to do it to you, don't do it to me. I don't respect your rank. I respect the person you are. Okay, and you need to do the same thing. Okay, so again, all this can be settled. It's not before you enter my room. It's a common courtesy. Like, I don't understand. Like, you want to walk into somebody's house without knocking, even if the door's open. And if you do, you shouldn't. And you should really look at yourself. Now, going back to one that we talked about before, sticking to your word. Pay your debt. You buy a box of chocolate for a kid on a fundraiser, and that day comes, and you don't have your money, that's a problem. We're selling T-shirts for Pi Day, and you bought a T-shirt, and those shirts come in, and you haven't paid your debt, that's a problem. Okay? We're having a baby shower, and you owe $10 for that baby shower, and you show up at that baby shower, and you eat the food, and you drink whatever, without your $10, that's an issue to me. Okay? I'm not allowing you at that baby shower. Why would I allow you somewhere where you haven't paid your debt? And again, it's simple stuff like this that causes animosity. Pay your debt. Yo, you bought the candy bars off that kid? Pay that kid before you get your candy bars. Okay, you really want to have that kid go to an administrator, and administrator come to you and be like, yo, Mr. Riley, you owe so-and-so $30 for candy bars? Like, you need that? You need an administrator to tell you you owe a child money? You buy a t-shirt, you need someone hounding you for that t-shirt? Okay, again, I invite you to a going away party, a baby shower, or a birthday, and it's $10 and you don't pay it, you're not coming again. You're not going to another event that I collect money from. Okay? And good luck borrowing something from me. Good luck asking me for something. Okay? You need to pay your debt when it's time to pay that debt. Okay? Because there's only so much that I'm going to run around. Okay? You better not ask me for something. If you owe me money, and again, this is not just about education. These are good life lessons. But again, I focus on education because that's what I do for a living. You owe me money, you better not ask me for anything until I get my money. And then after that, I don't know if you're going to get it if it took you that long to pay me back. All right? So again, that's what it is. You borrow my books, because it doesn't even always have to be about money. You borrow my books, where are my books before you ask me for something else? Again, this is all stuff that causes little animosity. And the problem is, as teachers, we're very territorial. We might not keep that to ourselves. Yo, so-and-so owes me money for shirts. Now I'm speaking out of turn because I'm frustrated because you don't give me my $10. Now I go to tell somebody else, which I shouldn't be doing, but not everybody follows that rule. So now we're creating rifts that don't need to be created because you want something that you don't want to pay for, or you don't want to pay for it on time. Like, we all get paid the same days. I know when you get paid. Just give me my $10. That's all I need. Okay? But this is the kind of stuff that festers, and over years, people don't want to work together. Yo, just pay your debt. Just, if you were going to do it, if you're going to say you're going to do it, like, just pay your debt. Like, just do the right thing. I don't understand this. You should never be hunted down for something that you owe somebody. Just do the right thing the first time. Another one, piggybacking on what we just said. Unless you see it, unless you're there, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Because this is another thing and I see this daily. You might not like somebody because you heard they did it, they're guilty. If you like that person, I can't see them doing that. It's not up to you. Nobody did it. Unless you see it happen, nobody did it. And even after they're guilty, you got to kind of take that as a grain of salt because you don't even know who's doing the investigation. I work with some shady people, and I've seen investigations go, and I'm like, I know they didn't do it because that is not in their characteristic. You know what? I shouldn't even say I know they didn't do it, but that is not in their characteristic. Okay? The person doing their investigation, I can see them doing it before the person that's accused. All right? So again, when you're asserting guilt on somebody else, look at you. Do I already not like this person? By me assuming they're guilty, are you just reinforcing what you think you already know about that person? For what? For what? Does it matter to you if they're guilty or not? Is it because they did it to your buddy and you're like, oh, that's terrible? Now you feel away because your buddy feels away? It's got nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. All right? So at the end of the day, everyone in there, innocent until proven guilty. Now, go back to what I said before about minding your business. Now, unless it's to a point that it's a hill you're willing to die on, mind your business. Now, if it's that egregious, where you got together, where you guys got to come together, whether it's as a department, as a union, as a whatever, teacher versus administration, whatever it is, and be like, yo, enough is enough. We're going through this enough, and now that becomes a hill to die on, that's different. But if you're like, yo, so-and-so did this, or so-and-so came out their mouth crazy, okay, so? You don't even know if they said it. You don't even know what context. You don't even know what was said beforehand. Okay, you're hearing one person's side of the story. Stay out of it. That's got nothing to do with you. Trust me, whatever is in the dark is going to come to light. You still have to work with everybody else after that. Okay? That's dumb to do stuff like that. Because after the smoke clears and whatever happens, happens, you'll still all have to work together. So you might be in a room with somebody that you took on another teacher's beef with. Now you guys have to work together. You think they're going to be as understanding? Yo, what happened to the reckless stuff you were talking about me for an incident that didn't even concern you? So now, before you even do this situation, you already have animosity from a situation that had nothing to do with you over something you created. Because all you had to do was mind your business. So again, innocent until proven guilty. Stay away from it. If it doesn't concern you, it does not concern you. All right? Now, this is a tough one because a lot of people, and I see it all the time, very reactive. Listen before you talk. All right? A lot of times you don't even have to respond. Now, I'm going to tell you, and people are going to laugh when they see this video, I learned that the hard way. Some arguments, you don't even have to speak. You could just be quiet. Let them talk. Because a lot of times they don't even make sense. You don't even have to defend yourself against such ridiculousness. All right? And if you do respond, take a second. Don't be reactive. Don't say something ridiculous. Okay? Because a lot of times that's when you mess up and you snitch on yourself. Just wait a second. Okay? And again, I've been in meetings. And again, people who see this, that work with me will attest to this. I've been in meetings where it was called just to embarrass me. Guess what did not happen at those meetings? I was not embarrassed because I sat there and I stayed quiet and I answered questions, and the person who tried to embarrass me unraveled because I waited and I did not react and I responded appropriately. Some questions I didn't even answer because I'm like, that doesn't even sound right. That doesn't pass the sniff test. All right, and I would just listen. Okay, anybody who's ever been in a meeting with me knows I do not speak unless it's absolutely necessary. Okay, you ask me a direct question, I'm going to give you the minimal response. I am not speaking more than I have to. Okay, you ever been in a meeting with someone who just speaks verbal diarrhea and just to be heard? Yeah, we all have. And they usually make the least amount of sense. Okay, because all they want to do is dominate the conversation. You go ahead, dominate the conversation. The more you say, the less I have to. And at the end, you make yourself look ridiculous. So let them. Listen. When people want to show you who they are, let them. Let them. If that's what they want to do, you'll let them go. Just let them spew their nonsense, their ridiculousness. Let them do all of that. And just sit back and watch. Listen to what they're saying. If they're lying, let them lie. If it's egregious, address it. If it's not, sit back with your popcorn like the Michael Jackson meme and just let it happen. Because eventually, like I said, whatever's done in the dark is going to come to the light. And that's another thing. Going back to all these rules, someone's going to tell you because not everybody can mind their business. So someone's going to tell you what's going on. All right? Because again, there are no secrets. Everybody knows somebody. Okay? Everybody vents to somebody. So somebody's going to tell you what's going on. So all those secret meetings you think you're having, all those behind closed doors, all those off records, doesn't happen. It always comes back. All right? Somebody breaks. Or the person you're doing it to takes it to such an extent that it comes from somewhere else. All right? I know where mine comes from. Listen. Listen before you talk. That's it. Read the room. See what's going on. See who's in that room. Who needs to be there. Who doesn't need to be there. Why are they in here? That's it. Sit, listen, let everybody talk. Say what you got to say. Okay. Now, this is another one. And I don't even know why I have to say this, and again, I've been a victim of this on both sides. Say excuse me. You want to walk in front of somebody? Say excuse me. Somebody's in your way of getting in the door? Say excuse me. You want to talk to somebody who's in a conversation? Say excuse me. And I've done this. I'm not going to lie. I'm not perfect. And again, this is stuff I've learned over years. Okay? I'm not saying I was perfect when I started however many years ago. Say excuse me. Don't just butt in. Now, I'm not saying by saying excuse me, that's fine, because two people might be talking and say, why are you interrupting? All right, can't you see we're talking? And that's fine too, because why are you interrupting? 99% of the stuff doesn't have to happen right there. Like, you can wait till they're done. That's fine too. Okay, but just going in and start talking, don't do that. That's absolutely disrespectful. Why are you cutting their conversation short? Now, in your mind, whatever you're doing, precedes what they're doing. Not in their mind. Maybe they're having a conversation about something else. Maybe their stuff is not about school at all. Maybe it's about what's going on. Maybe their kids play soccer together and they're talking about the game this weekend. It doesn't matter, because it's none of your business. You don't get to decide to cut their conversation short because you think what you need is more important than that. Say excuse me. If they stop the conversation, talk. If they say, wait a minute, go wait a minute. You know what, come holler at me later. And that's it. But say excuse me. Don't just think you're going to just interrupt people. Because again, these little things, these little incidents is what causes people to not mess with you. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that people hold on to. I'm telling you, I see it. Okay? And I know there are teachers out there laughing. And again, this is not unique to teaching. Okay, it's not. So I know that other people who aren't teachers are like, yeah, I see that. Yeah, you do. Okay, just say excuse me. Just say excuse me. Even with the kids. Okay, even when dealing with the kids. Okay, two kids are talking. Don't talk over it. Excuse me. Excuse me. Wait, what'd you just say? Can you just, the kids are like that too. You got to show those kids respect. All right? I show all of my kids respect. Okay, and therefore, my kids respect me. Anything going on in that school, when it comes to kids versus teachers, my kids don't get involved with me. Okay, because I respect them. Okay, we had that mutual respect. All right, that's just the way it is. And again, next item, I can't believe I have to say this. Practice good hygiene. Practice good hygiene. Wear clean clothes. Don't wear clothes 2 days in a row. Brush your teeth, comb your hair, wear clothes that fit. There is nothing worse when I see people walking around with clothes that don't fit. Things that aren't buttoned properly, things that are way too tight, stuff that's too big. It's better than being too tight, but it's still not a good look. You don't want to look like you just woke up, greased your hair back, and then that's it. Like, it's not a good look. If you have a bacon, egg, and cheese for breakfast and you still got ketchup and cheese on you, that's not a good look. You don't want to come in, especially for you young teachers, okay? And again, old teachers too, but, you young teachers that go out on school nights and, have a good time and come smelling like, bad decisions. You don't want that, because that's what your kids see. You are a role model, okay? This is not Charles Barkley in the NBA in the 90s, okay? You don't get that choice. The kids see it. If you could do it, they can do it. Okay, so if you come in smelling like cigarettes and bad decisions, your kids think, oh, that's okay. So-and-so comes to work smelling like that. I could smell like that. You come in smelling like you haven't showered in a couple days and just want to wear Axe body spray. Well, your kids are going to think that's socially acceptable. It's not. It's not. All right? Same thing. Clean shave. Okay, you want to grow your goatee. You want to grow your beard. But for the most part, look presentable. Look like you're going to work. All right? Don't look like, it's a Sunday morning and you're trying to get to Five Below, as soon as it opens so you can get home and watch the Giants game. Don't do that. These are your kids. Let them see the positivity, okay? Don't make it look like you're just there, just going through the motions, all right? Make it look like you're there because you are a role model, all right? And again, and I can't believe I have to say this goes down. I've had administrators that don't look like they want to be there, okay? So again, this is all stuff that, Will make your experience in education, a little bit, a little bit easier. The last thing, just do your time. Just do your time. You know, you are not there to make friends. Okay, and I will say this. I know we're not in Florida. Sorry, Florida, but you're kind of known for this. Do not make friends with your kids. Do not make friends with your kids' parents. You're not even there to make friends with your peers. Okay, keep everything professional. And you're sure as hell not making friends with your administrators. Okay, nobody there is your friends. Like, you can have professional relationships. Like, you might have like one or two people that you might confide in. Okay, but just remember that they're not your friends. Okay, don't go running and telling people what's going on, whether it's your personal life or professional life or whatever it is. Okay, don't be sloppy. No one should know. Okay, I work with probably about 100, no, maybe about 80 teachers in my building. And there's about 4 of them that can tell you how old my son is, where he goes to college. All right, and out of those 4, I think 2 could tell you my wife's first name. All right, keep it moving. Do your time. Whether you're there for a year or you're on your 29th year, all right, keep it moving. Okay, do not eat in faculty lunchrooms. Those are the most toxic places to be in. That is all that is complaining. Okay, don't do it for whatever reason. I don't know. Again, if it's human nature, I can only talk on the education side. Most of the places I've taught at don't even have faculty lunchrooms, which is a blessing, because all they want to do is talk about the bad stuff. Nobody wants to focus on the good stuff. They should do this. They should do that. If I was an administrator, you'll never hear me say that. I've never been an administrator. I don't want to be an administrator. I see what administrators do. You can keep that. It's not worth it. The fact that you have to work 12 months instead of 10 and you have to deal with all of us, it's not worth the money. Y'all can deal with all of that. Okay? But that being said, as a teacher, avoid those rooms. Avoid the sewing circles. Okay? Do not turn your PLCs into just bitch groups. Okay? Or should I say bitching groups? Bitching sessions. Don't do it. If it's not positive, don't be around it. Okay? Because that will make you miserable. Because then you start seeing all the bad stuff instead of, even if you don't see the good stuff, just keep it neutral. Because at the end of the day, it's just a job. Yeah, you're molding kids. You're helping these kids with their future. But it's still a job. At the end of the day, it's still a job. Set your boundaries. I've been in my current job for 6 years. I've been out socially twice. I keep it moving. But I also don't owe anybody anything. I'm not in debt to anybody, and nobody's in debt to me. Right? So I can't say that I'm going to go to somebody and be like, hey, listen, you owe me a favor. Okay? But the flip side to that is nobody owes me a favor. Okay? I don't owe anybody a favor. They don't owe me a favor. Okay? That's the way you got to keep it, because you never know what's going to happen. All right? So, like I said, keep it moving. Follow these rules. You're going to be okay. You really are. Again, and I hate to say that, because you're not in jail. You're not in prison. That's something different. Your freedom is not taken. And make sure that you're teaching kids how to think, not what to think. That's another thing. My kids can't tell you my religion, my political leaning, anything like that. Because again, it's not their business. It's not my peers' business. It's nobody's business. I could tell you how to look at stuff objectively, and tell the differences between, religions, political parties, ideologies, social issues, stuff like that. But again, your opinion is your opinion. I could tell you how to come to a decision. I could tell you different ways of looking at it. I could tell you, flawed ideologies, or how to look out for flawed ideologies, or, if you're on Facebook, the difference between, part of the expression fake news and, stuff that's pretty straightforward propaganda. I can show you that, but I'm not going to tell you what to think. Okay? So again, keep it moving. Keep it moving. Do your time. That's it. 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, get out, And like I said, after 20 years, become a social media influencer, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Okay, that's my goal. I'm 20 years in. Figure I got 10 more. Maybe I could pass some knowledge along to younger teachers, which I would never suggest in today's environment going into teaching. It's like being a cop right now. And again, I'm not saying it because our lives are in danger, like the police are. It's not as dangerous, but depending on who you ask, we're not held in a very positive light. We're just not. The rules change over the years, and it's not the same profession as it was, 20 years ago when I got in, 30 years ago when I was in high school. It's not. It's not the same profession. So if you could take your talents anywhere else, I would do so. I would do so because it's like a lot of other things where the pendulum swings. So, growing up, all the power was in the teacher's hands, and growing up, I mean now, it's not. And I'm not saying I do it for the power. I'm just saying that there needs to be a little leeway because we work in a country, like I said before, that's just reactive. So instead of trying to find a mid ground, we just go from one extreme to the next. So growing up, I had teachers that could pretty much do whatever they want. Now you got kids who could do whatever they want without recourse. So it makes it difficult on us. The problem is I've been teaching for long enough where I know how to build relationships. I know how to do this. When you get a teacher who comes out, who's got 30 kids and is just thrown to the wolves, and you got to worry about tenure and parents and administrators who probably shouldn't be administrating, and boards and their administration who cover up their bad actions. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I can't tell you how many I've seen more teachers bail on their profession in the last 5 years than I've saw in my first 15. I'm talking new teachers. Teachers who will come in and maybe go from like one or two places, not even be eligible for tenure. Be like, I'm not doing this for the next 30 years. I'm gonna go bartend. I'm gonna go learn to code. So that just kind of tells you where you're at. But for those of you who are in the long haul, I got some advice. Take my advice. And hopefully, you do your 30 and get out. I hope this helps some of you. Like and subscribe.